working on figuring out what the main idea is and supporting details. And as you've been reading nonfiction, you've been using boxes and bullets to help you organize the information. Yesterday we talked about organizing that information. We had one box and a whole bunch of bullets, and when we got looking, we decided, well, we can actually break it into categories and organize it. Well, today we're going to really be thinking about identifying the big idea of the entire text. Identifying the big idea of the entire text. Well, the entire text that I've been taking notes on, if I think about the big idea of it, it's more about tarantulas make good pets than just tarantulas. Okay, so the big idea of all the notes that I've been taking is tarantulas make good pets. Okay? So our teaching point today is that we can determine the main idea and the summarizing and the supporting details by identifying the big idea of the entire text. So I want to go to Cactus Hotel. And we know that narrative nonfiction is sometimes harder to understand. But we did get a lot of facts out of it yesterday when we were reading. And we were to the part where when there's not rain, the cactus gets thin and uses up the reserve water. Okay? After 50 years, the cactus stands 10 feet tall and looks straight and strong beside the old Palo Verde. For the very first time, brilliant white and yellow flowers appear at the top of the cactus. Every spring from now on, the flowers will open, one night only, and then close in the heat of the day. They beckon like a welcoming signal across the desert. At different times of the day and night, birds, bees, and bats come for the nectar. We talked about that yesterday. I just backed up because I often back up and reread part of what we read. And we talked about it takes 50 years before they're even mature enough to get a blossom. But how that one blossom feeds a lot of animals, and they get the nectar from it.
On that, I thought it said night, not day. Show that like day.
But it says they open for one night only and close in the heat of the day.
Oh.
The flowers dry up, and after a month, the bright red fruit filled with black seeds is ripe and ready. The Gila woodpecker comes to eat. He looks around the cactus and decides to stay. He has found the perfect place in the desert to begin a new hotel. The woodpecker goes right to work, and the only tools he uses is his long, hard beak. Tap, tap, tap. He bores into the flesh of the cactus. Tap, tap, tap. He digs deep inside to make space that is comfortable and roomy. The cactus is not harmed. It forms a tough scab all around the hole to protect itself from drying out. The woodpecker gets a weatherproof nest that is shady on hot days and warm and insulated on frosty nights. And the cactus gets something in return. The woodpecker likes to eat the insects that can bring disease to the cactus. After 60 years, the Cactus Hotel is 15 feet tall. To add more space, it begins to grow an arm. A woodpecker has a new hole in the trunk. Farther up, a white-winged dove makes a nest on the arm. And down below, an old hole is discovered by an elf owl. The birds feel safe, living high up in a prickly plant where nothing can reach them.
That'd be actually kind of fun if you were a bird.
All around the desert, there are holes of every size for ants and mice, lizards and snakes, rabbits and foxes. After 150 years, there are holes of every size in the cactus too. The giant plant has finally stopped growing. It is 50 feet tall with 7 long branches. It weighs 8 tons, about as much as 5 automobiles. Everybody wants to live in the Cactus Hotel. Birds lay eggs and pack rats raise their young. Even insects and bats live there. When one animal moves out, another moves in. And every spring they come for a special treat of nectar and juicy red fruit. finally, after 200 years, the old cactus sways in a gust of wind and falls with a thud to the sandy floor. Its great thorny arms crumble in the crash.
Takes 200 years for it to die.
The creatures that live up high must find other homes, but those that prefer to live down low move right in. A millipede, a scorpion, and many ants and termites quickly find homes in the toppled hotel. After many months, all that remains are the wooden ribs that supported the cactus while it stood so tall. A collared lizard dashes over the top looking for insects. A ground snake huddles in the shade below. And all around, there's a forest of cacti, slowly growing in the desert. Through hot and cold, wet and dry, some will survive long enough to become other cactus hotels. So if we think about this whole book, we need to think back and think about what's the big idea of the entire text, all the way through. We could have bullets of details, but what's the big idea of the whole text?
The cactus.
What about the cactus?
That it's like a hotel for all the animals.
Okay, so would it be just a hotel, or would it be important to the animals in the desert?
It's where they live. It's where they raise their kids.
So
That's very important because you don't want to like raise them out there because like they could get bit by a rattlesnake or something if they leave to get food.
Yeah, because if there wasn't any cactuses, most of the birds, like in really sandy desert, would die.
okay, so I think this goes beyond just the cactus, beyond just the life cycle of the cactus, but even deeper, maybe the importance of the cactus and the desert, how the cactus is part of the habitat, and without the cactus, maybe some of the animals. So is the big idea of this just about saguaro cactus?
No.
There's a bigger idea than that, isn't there? So when we identify the big idea of the entire text, we have to think, well, what was the whole book about? Yeah, it was the life cycle. It told us how long it took it to live, or to grow, how long they lived, it told how big they get. But I think it also really showed us the importance of that cactus in that habitat. Okay? So as you're reading, another way to think of the main idea in this kind of details is to think of that big idea of the entire text. So as you're reading today, I want you to, as you're finishing up with your notes today, I want you to think about what the big idea is of the notes that you've taken so far. Because that will become the big box at the very top. Okay? Turn and talk about what you think right now the big idea of yours might be.
The big idea is how domesticated it is. That's what the big idea of what they're looking for, what they eat, where they
I got so much
Well, what I find in Alice right now is also one of my boxes, how they live, but it could be just on the walls in general.
probably no one else is doing Moses.
Okay. Back to me. I hear some of you still kind of struggling with that, and I just wanted you to kind of think about it for a minute, and that's what our job's going to be today. I don't expect you to have it right now. And it's okay to not really know. I think when, as you look back through your notes and read the stuff that you've written down, you'll figure out what the big idea of all the notes is that you've taken so far during this little piece of research that we've been doing, okay? All right.